for being on.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I usually start the episode with like a way to introduce people, like this is so-and-so guest, and they do so-and-so. But, this is David Evans. He's a mixed martial artist. He's a commentator. He's an actor. You wear many hats. So like, if you were in my shoes, how would you, describe yourself to an individual who doesn't know you?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like it depends on the day.
What am I working on?
Today, I guess, I'm David Evans. I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm a commentator. I've done some acting. I've done some modeling. I don't consider myself a working model, but I've done some pretty cool things. Uncle, son, brother, all of the things, man.
The best titles.
Whatever I need to be is what I am. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, it's the hardest thing on me because, like, I don't want to disrespect any guests, right? And it's like sometimes you'll introduce someone and they'll be like, you forgot this. And I'm like, I didn't know about that. Porn star, by the way. OnlyFans. Hit me up.
No OnlyFans as of yet.
So the way I know you, David, is I knew you and know you from mixed martial arts. We were coming up around the same time. We were amateurs together. And I believe we also went pro along the same lines or around the same times as well. You were a weight class above me. I was a bantamweight 135. You were, for the most part, a featherweight at 145. But we share like a Venn diagram of some opponents. We were always kind of, I've seen you at the gym at Finney sometimes, you know what I mean? Around each other, but never collided. And the reason why I wanted to have you on is, yes, you interest me in the sense of your past, but you're also an interesting guy today. And one of the main purposes of this podcast is to talk to people that interest me. So I'm a selfish creature. I'm having you on today. Before we get into the now, I'd like to set the stage for what's happened before. You came up in martial arts, and that's how I knew you, right? But can we talk about like how you got inundated with martial arts? Like, what was the first martial art that got you into this realm? How is it that you became, to the point where you were fighting in a cage? I'd be curious to ask you that.
Man, there's a long story and there's a short story.
I'd like the long one.
Honestly, to add color on that, it all starts with wrestling, and us being in each other's orbit actually starts in wrestling, not MMA.
Yeah.
So I wrestled at Missouri Baptist University, and I believe you knew Esmond Ford. And I remember coming into my freshman year, like I was a pretty advanced wrestler. So when I got into college, I had already kind of been wrestling at a collegiate level. And then Esmond was something that I took to because he was like a, older, more senior guy. And
around our weight.
Yeah, around our weight. So I trained with him a lot, and he was just cool outside of the mat, off the mat as well. And he would bring you up. So he's mentioned you to me before. And then he even mentioned, he's like, yeah, I remember there was a tournament, I forgot, like the conference tournament or whatever. And he was like, we were supposed to wrestle or something.
You and Esmond.
Me and you.
Oh, me and you?
Were supposed
really?
To wrestle. Yeah, but
what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated 2012.
Oh, you were a year below me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it just didn't happen the way the tournament,
functioned,
shaked out or whatever.
Suburban East, was that what?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was like a newer tournament at the time, and
that was a tough tournament.
It was
like
probably
40 schools, and I remember we used to say that if you medaled at that tournament, you'd medal at state. Shocker.
Yeah, for sure.
Both happened.
Most definitely. I think, especially on the St. Louis side, it's probably the
it had all the city schools. Yeah. It had all the county schools. It was the most intense tournament outside of districts and state.
Indeed. And I think that's when we initially started being in each other's orbit.
My senior year, I was 135. Were you also 135 your junior?
Yeah,
no,
yeah. 135.
Wow, so we very well could have wrestled.
And then it was 138 the next year.
Yeah, it changed.
Yeah. So when I got into college, then he started bringing your name up. I'm like, dude, I do remember that name. So once I started transitioning to fighting, it was like, okay, like I felt like I kind of knew you, even though we never officially met. But it's just like the wrestling community, small world, and people know I'm a wrestler, so your name would always get brought up.
That's funny.
So, like, do you know Arion? Well, I've never met him, but yeah,
I
basically know him now because everybody's always asked me about him. If I see your name, I'm like, oh, let me check.
It's a small world.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought you were younger than me, like a lot younger than me. Like at least when I say a lot, I mean like within 4 years. Like I didn't know that.
I'm old out here, bro.
Dude, I feel you. I feel you.
I'm about to be 32 next month, dude.
I just turned 33.
Okay, all right.
So I'm Unc.
We'll talk about that later. I ain't ready for that conversation yet. But essentially, I grew up wrestling. That's kind of where I made my name.
Did you do like Little League? Like when you say you grew up wrestling, meaning from a young age?
Yeah, I started wrestling about 6th grade.
Nice.
I think I was like 12, going on 13. I was very advanced even from that young age. I kind of like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I was wrestling at a high school national level. And, you know, I had aspirations for Olympic dreams and all of that stuff, and it didn't really pan out. But I think my senior year of high school, Tyron Woodley got me into fighting. And it's just kind of funny how it like all worked out because I believe it was the summer of my senior year, so I was actually going into college, and I think this when Tyron was kind of making his own name and
creating ATT Evolution.
Yeah, creating ATT Evolution, Strike Force, championship fights, and then he was maybe
back before he was the chosen one. He was T Wood.
He was T Wood, yeah.
Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second. I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show.
And apparently, somehow, Tyron knew my stepfather, like, back in the day. So I remember, I think it was around orientation time, like freshman orientation, the wrestling team, we went out to, like, Hooters. You know.
As one does.
You in college, you know, it's like, hey, where we gonna go on a Saturday night? Let's go
what we can
Hooters.
afford.
What can we afford, right? Because we all broke. And so.
God bless Hooters, by the way.
Hooters, man. I think they're
going out of business. Not enough wrestling teams.
Man, not enough. But so I'm sitting at Hooters with the wrestling team, and then like my mom calls my phone, and she's like, "Hey, do you know someone named Tyron Woodley? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so at that point, I had known Tyron just from being around the wrestling community, and we had just randomly crossed paths. I remember the year I placed at Fargo, like literally my last practice, getting ready to go off to training camp for Fargo. Tyron's in the room at McClure North, and like I'm working out by myself, and he just comes over and starts a conversation with me, and he's like, "Yo, what you got going on?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually getting ready to go to nationals," and he just started giving me all of this advice and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah," like I'm listening, you know, I know who he is, but I'm also like starting to weight cut, and I'm trying to focus.
Yeah, brother,
but I'm like, it's Tyron.
This is not a good time to start this combo.
But no, and so there were several different situations like that where we just constantly cross paths. And then, so fast forward to me sitting at Hooters a couple years later, my mom's calling me. She's like, "Hey, do you know Tyron Woodley?" And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of know him from wrestling and just being around the scene." And she's like, "Oh, well, he actually knew, you know, your stepdad. And they used to like run the streets and, you know, do some
less than reputable things.
Less than reputable
allegedly.
things, allegedly." And she's like, "Yeah, like, I remember him, blah, blah, blah." I'm just like, "Oh, okay, cool." And hung up. Didn't think anything of it at that point.
So she only called you to ask you if you knew him?
Yeah, if I knew him.
That's
if
it.
I knew who he was.
No context.
She knew him. Yeah, no context whatsoever. And so I think a few weeks go by, and she's like, "Hey, I know his mom, actually. I reached out to his mom on Facebook. She gave me his number. I called him, and he told me he knew who you were to bring you to his gym, ATT Evolution." I'm like, all right. At that point, I think I definitely knew I wanted to fight, but I was actually more so thinking boxing. You know, I boxed,
Oh, really?
did Golden Gloves, all of that stuff as well when I wrestled. Like, anytime I wasn't training wrestling-wise, I was in the boxing gym.
I didn't know that.
That's all I did. I wasn't much of a team sports
Guy.
at all. I just
Kindred spirits.
You know, I like to take ownership. Win or lose, I want the credit. You know, I've always kind of been that guy. I think from that situation, my mom reached out to Tyron. Tyron told my mom to bring me up to the gym, and so my mom then relayed that information to me, and I'm like, I'm boxing, I'm wrestling, MMA, UFC, like, this is a chance for me to put everything together.
Did you ever have a passion for that beforehand, or was this something that was kind of like formulating in real time?
I think it was formulating in real time. I definitely liked the UFC. It was definitely something I was interested in, but particularly at that time, it's like, how do you even get started doing this, you know? Because it was really just like building up as a notable global sport, right?
When I was in high school, I didn't even know the UFC existed.
Yeah.
I knew only WEC because WEC was on TNT, so like the earlier channels. I never went to like outside of like Comedy Central. This is aging us back on cable television, kids, where the channels actually mattered.
You had to wait for something to come on at the same time.
I remember when Uriah Faber fought Jose Aldo. It was the first WEC pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, oh, there's a guy called Dana White. And then I was like, Dana White, UFC. I was like, oh my God, there's like a different organization that also does MMA, because I thought it was only WEC.
Yeah. I think I was pretty much the same way at that point. Like, I had maybe seen some UFC stuff, or maybe I just didn't have the wherewithal to draw the distinction between the two, right?
I also thought I would never do it. I remember I saw cage fighting, and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'll never do that.
Because you think it's so far away from you, right? And
100%. I never thought I was made from that cloth. I was like, there's no way I would ever do that. I don't like getting punched in the face.
Oh, I mean, me on the other hand, I was like, the way I grew up, you bound
it's a different story.
You're bound to get punched in the face at some point in your life, whether you like it or not, whether you sign up for it or not. But I mean, I definitely always took a liking to it. As far as doing it, I just didn't really know there was an avenue to do it, right? And so then you circle back to the encounter with Tyron. So my mom brings me up to the gym. I train with him maybe 2 days, and then I wake up, I think it's on a Sunday, early Sunday morning, and my mom's like, hey, Tyron wants you to come to the gym. And I'm like, I don't even think gym's open today. It's like 6 in the morning, early. Well, he just called me. He wanted me to bring you to the gym. And I was like, all right, sure, let's go. So we go up to the gym, ATT Evolution, and it's closed down. It's really just him, his wife at the time, just sitting in the gym, just taking care of stuff. And he sits me down on the couch. I'm like, all right, like, this is kind of weird at this point. like, what's up,
It's a black couch, it's a camera. He's like, what's going on?
Just like, all right, I don't know what's in store, right? And so we sit down. It's me and my mom. And he's just kind of talking about what he has going on and, like, what his plans are. And then, he cuts the line and he's like, look.
Was this when Tyron was still in Strikeforce, right?
Yeah, this is right. I think this was right on the verge of, like, the transition into the UFC.
Once, I think he probably knew that they were going to get bought out.
I think it was actually the fight I was watching at Hooters. It may have been the Jay Heron fight.
No shit. Okay, so he was already in the UFC.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's his debut.
That was his debut.
He had that crazy knockout, and which kind of makes it make sense now because I think he kind of felt like what was coming. And so he just...
When your debut is that.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Jay Heron was an up-and-coming prospect, Strikeforce fighter as well, and then Tyron Woodley just made a statement.
Man. Like,
switched to oblivion.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most devastating knockouts I think I've seen.
No, his knockout of Josh Koscheck.
That was probably one of the most devastating
I think that's the most devastating knockout he's ever gotten. Because that was just... Dude, I watched that live, and I go, dude, Josh will never... There are knockouts that happen when after the fact, you're like, that person will never be the same. Yeah. And when Tyron knocked out Josh Koscheck, I was like, Josh is done. Yeah. That's done. And he was. Yeah.
As a fighter, we know. Like, that's hard to come back from.
I want to make sure I want to say this. I don't know Josh or anything, but here's the thing. The truth of the matter is in sports, there's the new guard, the old guard, and there's this transitionary period where, unfortunately, we reluctantly but have to pass the baton. Yeah. And that was a prime example of the old guard and the new guard. Josh was a motherfucker. He was a beast. But Tyron was also, and younger.
And then, I mean, in fighting or any combat sport, that transition comes much faster. Yeah. It's like NBA, you can ride it out. NBA. NFL, you can ride it out. MLB, you can ride it out. But like,
I actually don't think about NFL, but like in other sports, I agree with you. I think the NFL is the most violent.
You think so?
More violent than MMA.
I think that's a tough conversation.
You think so?
I don't think you're wrong. I think it's a matter of...
What would you rather be, on the field of an NFL football field or in a cage with somebody?
I'd rather be on the field.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Personally,
put me against the baddest motherfucker in a cage. I don't want to get hit from something I'm not seeing. I think NFL players are...
Imagine if you had to be in the cage for a season. So if you had 16 fights within a season.
You know what I
mean? Like, now the impact, like,
but that's the thing.
Taking the hits and...
Okay, but then let me take that caveat from like anecdotal to more like statistical. When you look at the average like length of an MMA career versus the average length of an NFL football career, when you also incorporate the fact that they like went to college and high school,
yeah.
they're doing it like it's like a precipitous incline and then a drastic decline, right? Like they're like
overnight.
high school,
Yeah.
college, NFL, boom, right?
Yeah.
Where like MMA is kind of more, static. So I'll say this because one of the things I really like is whenever they put the camera like ground level and don't make the guy seem so small, because then you start realizing like, oh my God, like everybody on the field is over 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds. Like these are superhumans. And then once you put like the ref next to them, like an average human,
you're like, this is an
you're like,
average person.
yo.
Yeah.
So we have weight classes. Dude, I will take the best 135er, best 145er any day over an NFL football field. Any day.
I mean, I don't know. You can't say that. It's not a matter of one's tougher
it's
than
tough.
other.
It's tough.
It's a different kind of tough. Just choose your tough. You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
Like,
I guess for like preservation, physical preservation.
So I think when it comes to that, I always bring up the point of how young MMA is. I just don't think the history and data is there yet. So when you think of like NFL, you think CTE, you think all these catastrophic.
No, when I think CTE, I think boxing.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think MMA, because the ref can stop.
Yeah.
Think about it. We don't have a standing 8 count. Like MMA is brutal. 100. I think it's the most brutal sport. I'll say that. Like you can elbow and knee, and if you get cut, the crowd cheers. Like if someone gets hit hard on a football field, they'll cheer and then they'll get quiet. Like, oh shit, I hope he gets up. Right.
Yeah.
In an MMA fight, if Alex Pereira sends you to the shadow realm, they're losing their shit for the next half hour. So like I think it's the most violent. I will agree with you on that. But in terms of like the preservation of the human body, nothing is worse than NFL. Nothing. I would let my son, if I had a son, I would let my son do MMA. I wouldn't let him play football.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting. What about the training component?
That's part of it.
Okay.
Because what you're saying without saying it is like MMA training is where we really spend our miles.
Yeah.
And I agree with
sure.
you there.
Yeah.
But like I would say that the night of the fight, one of the things I hate about boxing more than anything is the standing 8 count. Because if someone goes down because of a knockout, let them go. Like let them go out. Yeah. I like that in MMA. Like if someone gets dropped, like the ref is right there watching. Are you coherently defending yourself? The thing that boxing and MMA don't get the same, they get a lot of things. It's like a Venn diagram. Like 90% of it is the same. The 10% that they get wrong that I think is the detriment to the fighter is they'll let you get fucking dropped.
Yeah.
You lost 5 seconds of your life. You get up, and because you can kind of hold your hands together, they'll let you continue. Where in MMA, if you get dropped and the guy continues on you, the fight's over.
So at least it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Lately, that's not always
TBD.
the case.
Referees are like, hold my beer.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
Now let me extrapolate that to the NFL field. Like, how many times you're talking about 16 fights or whatever, but that's one season, right? So like, how many times do the guys get like concussed on the first play, and feel because here's the thing, they're also getting paid millions of dollars, so they feel entitlement, like not entitlement in the sense of, entitlement is not the correct word to use. Duty. These people are paying me. If you got paid $1 million to fight, okay, and 4 weeks out from the fight you hurt something, a hand, a knee, or whatever, and if you didn't fight, you weren't getting paid.
Yeah.
And if you did fight, you did get paid. What would you do? $1 million.
I feel like the thing is, most fighters are in that position, and it's not even $1 million. It's more like
less.
PE teacher money. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about that.
Unfortunately,
let's talk about that.
We can go about that all day.
MMA is glorification in face only.
Yeah, you'd be the most famous financially struggling person ever, like in MMA.
Do you think you would have gotten into MMA if wrestling would have had a more lucrative path? You would have kept wrestling.
Probably not. I definitely would have kept wrestling.
If the name, image, and likeness legislation passed during your college days and you had the propensity to have higher earning, do you think you would have pursued MMA as you did?
In MMA or wrestling?
Wrestling.
Okay.
At the time, you're a freshman?
Okay. Yes.
Let me set the stage. You're a freshman at MOBAB. Name, image, likeness legislation has already passed. If you did good, you could reap the rewards. And then Tyron Woodley calls you on the phone and says, hey, come sit on this black couch with his camera on.
Yeah.
Do you want to fight in a cage? Do you feel like the paradigm would be a little bit different?
Most definitely. I definitely would have spent more time on the mat. I know without a doubt I probably would have ended up in the cage, but the path would have been differently for me.
And you would have ended up in the cage with more cash in the pocket.
Exactly. I would have more leverage and that's the biggest thing in MMA is like you don't really have leverage until you get to the UFC, and then you really don't have leverage until you're like part of that 1% of the 1%. And that's a whole system and structure that's really, honestly, at this point, I'm sure you've been there. You understand it's not really set up for you to win.
No, one of the greatest things that I've ever had for my MMA career was financial security.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me. Here's the thing I will also say, though, because it's a double-edged sword. I never once picked my opponents. In fact, I chased the greater challenges, right? It was just like the cloth in which I was cut from was a competitive cloth. If I lose, okay. But I want to lose to the motherfuckers. I want to lose to the greats. I want to lose to the guys that will be something, right? That was always my mentality. And I say that because I don't think, I've talked to a lot of guys in MMA. I don't think that's the norm.
No.
I think the norm is get to the UFC, make a little bit of money, see what we can do. But like few guys really want to, who's the top dog? Okay, that's the one. I'll fight him.
No, most definitely. I think that's definitely a rare mindset. But I think it also puts you in a position as a fighter and an athlete to be taken advantage of.
That's what I was going to say.
And so I think the gift and the curse that I had is, one, even with wrestling, right? I had coaches, like my coaches were like my parents, just coming from the situation I came from, I didn't really have stability. Luckily, wrestling afforded me the chance and opportunity to build family and out of the brokenness that I was coming from. Fortunately, my coach, who was like a father to me, it's like he was always a very astute businessman. And like, so I approached wrestling from that perspective, and I've always just kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset. So going into MMA, like I've carried that mindset with me as well. And it's like my amateur career, man, I was milking, I was doing I was hustling, dude. I'm fighting, I'm selling merch, putting ticket packages together, doing after parties. And like, there are times even in my amateur career to where it's like, obviously you're not getting paid, but I never not got paid because
Can we call a spade a spade?
What's up?
Your purse should be the lowest form of your income.
Oh, definitely.
You were doing things as an amateur that professional fighters today don't understand. And that's why now, even at this crossroad that I am, to kind of mirror what you said, having financial stability. Like, I make great money outside of fighting, outside of acting, outside of commentating. I'm just also in a great position to where I make money doing all those other things as well too. God bless.
And so I'm a competitor. I scratched that itch with wrestling, right? I want to beat the best. I want to be the best. Going to the OTC, doing the camps there, traveling around the country, doing all the toughest tournaments. Like, so by the time I got to MMA, it's like, one, like, I want to use it to challenge or to test myself, right, and chase that athletic pursuit. But I think the core thing for me was financial independence and security. So even as an amateur, I always had that at the top of mind, and I sit here today as someone who is financially secure, and it's really hard for me to be like at 5-3 as a professional. It's like I'm not done fighting, but if I am going to fight, there has to be a financial reward there, or it has to get me somewhere to put me in that position.
Can I also add a caveat to that, because there's context to your record, there's context to your legacy, there's context to your career. You, whether you would admit it or not, followed a very similar career path to me as well, David. You also fought the toughest people that you could when you could. We share some common opponents, and when you talk about your record or your career in MMA, I have to add that you didn't shy away from traveling. You didn't shy away from fighting tough competitors in their prime. Yeah. So like when we discuss these things, I also want to make sure that we understand like the variables of the things that we can see and the things that we can't see. Yeah. There were a lot of guys with undefeated, unblemished records that we all would say are untested. That is not you.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
No, for sure. And I think even from an amateur,
and I'm not trying to glaze you. This is the truth.
This
is the truth.
Real recognize real.
Yes,
and
this is the truth.
Where we're at right now, right? So even from an amateur standpoint, it's right. Yeah, I did a couple fights on the local scene, and then once I got into the IMAF stuff, it's like, yo, I'm traveling the world by myself.
On your own dime.
Yeah, my own dime, which I had to set up a financial structure to get that money to flow so I could take advantage of these opportunities. That wasn't by accident.
Everything is a business expense.
So, exactly. And so I'm traveling the world by myself, no coaches, no trainers, going to Europe, going to the Middle East, going.
Can I ask why you just? Forgive me. Let me take a step back because this is going to turn into an interview. Forgive me. I want to take a step back because before we start talking about the teenage and early 20s, you were early on in this conversation discussing the upbringing and how it was. Yeah. I'm using your verbiage, broken. Can we discuss early David Evans? Like, what is that looking like? Where did you, high level, where did you grow up? What was the surroundings? What were the opportunities? Because there's a story to tell here, and I don't think we're doing it justice until we talk about the beginning.
Hey, look at you, man. You're good at what you do, dog.
130 episodes, I hope. I fucking hope.
No, where do I come from? A lot of instability. So where do I come from? Even for me at this point in my life, it's a hard question for me to answer because I was never rooted in one place. I never had stability, so to speak. Essentially, long story short, I was in a situation to where I was raised by like my mom and my stepdad. My stepdad passed away when I was 13. He was not. That wasn't a great experience. Yeah, he was very abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, and that charge of energy really just kind of set my entire family back to this day. Honestly, there's a lot of healing and stuff that's still coming.
I hate to interrupt because I don't like to interrupt. Yeah. Do you know your biological father?
Yeah, he was. We have a good relationship today.
Today,
me and my dad have a great relationship today. Growing up, he was around, but not involved or present. Like I have memories being in grade school, like where I probably wouldn't see him for like 6 or 7 months at a time. But we live in the same neighborhood.
Do you talk to him regularly now?
We do now. My dad's like my friend now. He's my homie now, And
have you had the conversations with him about?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a time will tell where it's like you think you grow up with like a spiteful father, and this is not to justify anything that he done or more so what he didn't do. Right? It's just like there's always two sides
to every story.
Three.
Yeah. The truth.
Amen to that. And so I think around like COVID time, there was just this big revealing of everything that I went through, my sister went through, my older brother went through. Because the thing is, like, a lot of people didn't even know. And so we practically raised ourselves from, I would say, the age of 5 to about 13. There wasn't very much support. We were moving around a lot. We've gotten evicted. It's a whole thing. I don't even know if I have the time to sit here and like break it down for you in its entirety. But I think David...
Enough to say a rough upbringing.
Rough. I mean, for me, it was just, at the time, it was just what I knew.
Normal.
I didn't understand it was rough until like I got to college and I started talking to people about my experiences, and people were like, yo, like...
That's not normal.
It's like, yo, that's not normal. But from a young age, I would say elementary, middle school, high school, extremely hyper-independent. My mom spent a lot of her time working before my stepdad passed, so he was the one that raised us, and that just was toxic environment. It was like you had to just learn to survive day to day, walking around the house, you're on eggshells. There's physical abuse there, and amongst other things. And, I always grew up just being in environments where I have to navigate things and figure things out for myself, and it actually helped me in fighting. It helps me in life to this day. Like, I have a keen ability to read people, spatial awareness, social awareness. Like, it comes from that, and I think that kind of adds a little color on why I ended up getting into the cage and fighting people too.
Trauma is weird, man. If you eliminate it, you eliminate a lot of character.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be the catalyst for what causes someone trauma. So it's...
I say this all the time. It's like, there's not much about my life I would change. Outside of, like, me having to deal with...
Today. Because hindsight's 20/20.
Exactly.
But when you were 15, when you were 17, when you were 19, when you were 21, I bet things were different because, not to make this about me, Similar story, not in variables, context.
Mm-hmm.
Also, at the time, though, Evan, if you would have, sorry, David, I don't know you well enough to call you by your last name. At the time, though, if you would have asked me, I would have changed everything.
Yeah.
But now, with the full picture, or at least a partial, because the future hasn't happened yet, I wouldn't change anything today.
Yes.
But if you would have asked me at 22, at 20, at 17, I would have started changing some things, and I don't know what kind of man I would have been. So it's a blessing and a curse. Like I love that you have that. I do. But let us also take into consideration the people that are currently going through that that might not necessarily feel that.
Does that make sense? That's a great point. I mean, I have memories from well before middle school, high school, where it's like whatever's happening or whatever, I can recall being in moments and just thinking about like, this can't be
anywhere but
life.
here.
Like, yeah, like, this can't be life forever. Like.
Do you think this is something that I wrestle with out of curiosity? Do you think that a certain amount of failure and tribulation and trials need to be provided at an early age? That as a society, we should strive to protect innocence, but at the same time, if you protect someone too long, you create a bubble that when that bursts, they're not ready for the real quote unquote world.
Yeah, and I struggle with trying to balance that today, right? As I navigate, like, I don't have kids or anything, but I have nieces.
To your knowledge.
To my knowledge.
Forgive me.
I have nieces and nephews, and I'm very active and involved in their life, and I love the progress.
Uncle experience?
Huh?
The uncle experience.
The uncle experience. I love it, man. For two of them, I'm their dad. They've never met their dad. I make choices for them. I'm actively
God
involved.
bless you.
Thank you. I'm actively involved as a parent, so I have to handle them differently, and so that's where that battle comes in, where it's like, I love my sister to death as a single mom. She's great. She's a phenomenal single mom, but she has two young boys, and I know where we come from. So she doesn't really have an example on how to teach young boys how to be men.
A mentor.
And so, exactly. And so for
it's
me,
the word within a word.
It's a
mentor,
yeah. And so I think for me, it's like I have to be there for them in a certain way, but I also have to handle them in a certain way to where it's balanced.
But do you feel like, let me take a step back because I want to make sure I ask this in a, do you feel like this is a responsibility, or do you think that this is an occasion that you can rise to? Out of curiosity, there's no wrong answer.
I think at this point in my life, I realized it's my purpose on earth.
God bless. God bless.
I don't look
at... Can I tell you why I love that answer?
Why?
Because every man, regardless of blood or affinity, has a duty to younger men to uphold and uplift them. Because being a man is hard. Listen, women are going to hear this and be like, oh my God. Being a man is difficult. And some men, some young boys, don't necessarily have that role model. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that men, good men, look at that as a responsibility, a duty, a honor, a privilege to shape the next generation. So God bless that you do that.
Thank you, man. Like, what 100%, me at 31 going on 32, I wake up, my nice little loft in the sky, get in my car, nice little sports car. I build a life for me, and it's great. But there are days, man, where I'm just like, on the way here, I'm driving.
You never forget.
Not even that, but it's just like, you go back to mentors and role models. I'm just like, man, like, I think about some of the things that are going on around me and to, like, my family and where we come from. And I'm just like, man, how the hell did I get here? Like, I don't know. I never had direction.
Do you feel lucky?
I feel blessed, for sure. I definitely feel blessed. It's confusing at times, like, but I know what that feels like.
Do you ever ask, why me? Why me?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever sat back and approached it from that perspective. I just think this is what life is, right? And so for me, just like knowing what that feeling is like when I look at younger people coming up, like I want to be that person who helped me. Because I did, even though I went through things the way that I went through and had the experience that I did, at the right moments, the right person just happened to be there. Whether it's tiring. Like, hey, I'm doing this. I want you to go on this path with me. And when I'm done, I want to hand this all over to you. Then I'm going on that path. And like, it's rocky as hell, but I'm trying to navigate it. And I'm giving my all to it. And I'm broke. And then I got this person I call an uncle who just randomly calls me at the right time. Hey, what's going on? Da, da, da. Like, I've had people throughout the way
Step up.
that have stepped up, stepped in, that have not only just
Mentored
been on
you.
the ride, not only been on the ride with me, gave me direction. My coach, I lived with him in high school. I don't know if I'd be here today if that wasn't the case. And so I've had people step in at the right time. And unfortunately, you know, as life goes on, just like people step in, sometimes they have to step out. But, you know, if I didn't have...
As of today,
yeah.
Who knows what the future holds?
Exactly. That's
ebb and flow, man.
Yeah, no, that's a great addition to that.
I always say never burn a bridge because you don't know what doors you need to open.
Exactly. And so I try to be that person. I try to be the person that if I can help someone, if I can give them direction, if I can... I've even realized within the last year, like going to 12th and Park, like, so my boxing coach, Coach Harold Petty.
Shout out Coach Harold.
Coach Petty, man, he's an OG, man, former, like, ESPN world champion, like, solid guy all around. But I started going up to 12th and Park, I would probably say about 5-6 years ago. But I would say within the last, like, 2 to 3 years, I've realized the importance of me just going and being in that environment. Because I'm around there, I'm training, I'm boxing.
The energy.
And there's all of these little kids that are maybe don't come from the most ideal circumstances. And you're hitting the bag, you're working out, and you look to your left and you just see this.
They're looking up at you.
Yeah, they're like following every movement you're making. I'm like, oh, like, I try to find moments like that in my life. Like, even if I'm not saying nothing or doing something, I try to represent myself in a way that, like, you know, people that may not have direction or may not have the vision or maybe can't see past what they're dealing with in the moment. If you just look at me and I step in the room, I want to at least add value just from being a good person.
I don't think you realize how rare that is.
There's a lot of things I'm learning I don't realize about myself, but I think it's just as we grow through life, you know, you think one thing of yourself, you think you have these plans, you think this is your goal, and then in reality, nothing you think is really important, and then you just shift and grow through life. I think that's what growth is, and I think I'm right on the brink of, like, that transition, figuring out who I am, right?
When you say figuring out who you are, extrapolate. What does that mean? Does that mean you don't know who you are today? Does that mean you are still introducing variables that were unknown to you that are changing that landscape? Like, when you say figuring out who you are, like, what do you mean by that? Forgive me.
Figuring out who I am in the sense that I do have a strong sense of self. But I remember one time someone told me, they were like, be careful, like, when you say what you are, because you might just be that. So then it's like, through growth and learning through experience and adding variables, the David who was traveling the world on Team USA, going here and there, fighting all of these guys who are financed by their country and have training camps and all this stuff, he would have told you, like, hey, I want to be the best fighter in the world. I want to be a UFC champion. That's what my mission in life is. But the David that sits here today is like, oh, like, you know, I no longer build my life around fighting. Fighting has to fit in my life. You know, I enjoy it. I love training. But I think my gift and my purpose lies within my voice, communicating and connecting with people. So I think it's more so just that constantly adding variables as I go from, like, space to space and figuring myself out in that way, like, not just who I am, but where can I be most impactful and how can I be most impactful and where do my real strengths lie, not just my strengths that got me through the survival period of my life. Right?
I don't disagree with anything you've said, but let me add a steelman argument, if you may. By the same logic that you dictate that the value you hold today is the present value, we don't know what we'll hold tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that you don't necessarily carry too much weight in the previous. By that same logic, you can't set your standards or your anchor to today because you don't know what will be tomorrow. So you have a conviction or a stronger sense of self today, but would you not agree that even that could be shattered tomorrow.
100%. And so then it's just like being open to whatever comes. And I think that's true confidence. Like true confidence is not like tomorrow today I'm this David, tomorrow I'm going to do this, and this. I think for me it's like more important than me telling you who I am today. I can tell you who I'm not. But I can also tell you that I'm open to new experience and I trust my discernment to guide myself along whatever path comes my way.
David, who are you not?
Who am I not? I'm not someone that's going to deceive people. I'm not someone who is going to angle to give someone else the shorter end of the stick. I'm not someone who follows crowds. You know, I'm not the guy that's going to do things because everybody's doing them. And that probably hurts me sometimes, you know, like as you navigate life.
In the short term.
Yeah, in the short term. I mean, it hurts me. I'm
It'll
definitely
feel like it does until 10 years back and you look back and you say, I didn't do what the crowd did.
Yeah.
I did what I wanted to do. Look where I'm at.
100%. And
but it's hard though.
Oh, it is.
It's hard because,
it's
like
hard.
I said, in the short term, you start thinking that you start doubting yourself. You start thinking, did I make the wrong choice? Should I have said yes? Should I have zigged when I should have zagged? And then only through, that's why we say, you know, hindsight's 20/20. Only through time and tribulation can we look back and say, no, everything had to happen the way it happened for me to be here today, both good and bad.
Yeah, and I try to remind myself that I think the biggest thing that I struggled with throughout my life, because of what I came from, is being present. So being
in the present, or like when you say being present,
being in the present. So in any moment,
not just always thinking about the next step
or what's coming
Forgive
my
me, I
way
had
to prepare. Yeah, and so having
hold
that,
it though. May I ask a question?
Yes.
Surely you understand the paradigm of that. Is like, how do you tell someone live today but plan for tomorrow? It's a tough task.
It is tough. But if that's your baseline though, it's like, are you ever really living if you're always planning for tomorrow? So it's a tough balance, you know? And I live at the intersection of that shit. Like, and I had to learn that because I wasn't always self-aware of that, you know?
Can I add a different paradigm to that?
What's up?
I don't disagree with anything you said, but here's the difference between you and I. I have a kid and you don't, right? To our knowledge.
Yeah. To our knowledge.
Forgive me. I say that to all the male guests. I should start saying that to the female guests, but they would know. The reason I say that is if you would have asked me 3 years ago, I would have agreed with everything you said. But then you introduced the paradigm of like the next step past you. My daughter is the first thing that I do that will outlive me, right? Like, even if I have businesses or whatever, when I die, they need to have a structure to them, and they will not outlive me in the sense of like what they become is not what they were during my lifetime. But my daughter and subsequent children that I have, and whatever children you end up having, will inevitably.
Don't have.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that if you want. I love that conversation because I'm gonna say this: a man like you should. A man like you should. The way you speak, the values you have, and knowing you for 42 minutes, you should have kids.
Thank you.
I like that. You should have them. But what I'm trying to say is, you're not incorrect, but then once you add that variable of like that next generation past you, I think you're still right, but there's like an extra level I would add, and that is the paradigm of like preservation past you. Like, we make decisions for ourselves, which we should as men, 100%. Like, and if any man tells you that like you shouldn't be selfish, you have to be selfish before you're in a position to be selfless. I don't know any poor people that are changing the world. I'm sorry. That's the truth. I don't know any single poor person that's changing the world. I know 5 different guys that are above a certain X value in wealth that are genuinely making a difference. Yeah. And you have to be selfish before you can afford yourself the luxury of selfless. So what I would ask you is, you know, understanding a little bit about where you've been, where you are, and some of the plans that you have for the future, where does that come into the paradigm, the perspective? Do you know, we were talking you made a joke about like maybe we won't have kids, but like there has to be a part of you that thinks you should have that partner. You should have, unless.
Oh.
And by the way, if you're gay,
no,
now's a great time to say it.
Definitely you know not that,
okay. I wouldn't love you any less.
No.
But if it's a question of like not meeting that partner, totally understand. I think that's the hardest thing for a man to choose. The number one decision a man will make in his life is his partner. And I will argue that till the grave.
I 100% agree with you. I want to walk it back.
Forgive me.
Broke people not changing the world.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? But the thing is, there's a lot of people of wealth and of means that are corrupting the world. So that's like a whole nother thing. I don't think the wealth should necessarily be like a financial perspective. It's more so building yourself, personal development.
I agree. I was wrong.
I think it's not about right or wrong. I think wealth, efficient and effective wealth, is typically a derivative of the people that focus on themselves and are selfish in personal development, spiritual development, building themselves mentally and intellectually, and whoever they touch becomes a denominator of that, right? So I don't just want it to be like, oh, you got to make money to change the world.
That is an active and accurate summation, and I was wrong. Correct. Because there's a lot of poor people, or not even poor people, forgive me. There's a lot of people that their biggest value is not their wallet, and they shaped me, and God bless them for it.
Exactly. And I think for me personally, those have been the most impactful people, you know. Not saying that anybody has helped me out financially, sponsors and everything. It's been great.
Shout out you guys. keep the lights on.
Literally. Definitely be great. But when I think about the things that are going to affect my kids, because I do want to have kids, the lessons that I've learned, they have not been financially rooted. But I know some people that are multimillionaires that are great human beings, and I know they're rare, and that's why I hold on to them.
Are they happy?
Happiness is such a subjective thing, because most people would think
whether they're happy. David, you know whether they're happy.
I'm on my business.
I know a lot of people that have what everybody aspires for.
Yeah,
and they're not happy. And I know some people.
I'm one of them. Some days, I totally get that.
I think it's fluctuating. No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. There are some days where I'm unhappy. And then there are some days that I have to remind myself that I have the world.
Yeah.
I have the world. I have when I was a teenager and I was staying up at night worried about the future, I have literally everything I used to stay up at night worrying about. The problem with growth is then it expands your horizons.
Yeah.
And what do they say? Comparison is the death
of joy.
Yeah, the death of joy. Yeah, it's like when you start comparing yourself to other people, there goes joy.
Yeah.
And it's not as if I know this. I do. I'm a human. I have good days and bad days. I sin and I don't on some days, and I do on some days. But I guess the narrative that I'm trying to spin is weakness is not a exemption of strength as a prerequisite. You will be weak. You will have to overcome that weakness. That is what makes you strong.
Exactly. You can't have one
without the other. It's a comparison.
As far as like people being happy, I mean, there are days where like I'm down, and I struggle, and I'm extremely introspective, probably a little too introspective at times. But, there are days where I look around or I look in the mirror, I'm out doing something, and I'm like, whoa, I'm exactly the person I imagined myself being when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, when I was daydreaming and disassociating from, like, what was going around me at the time. And it's like, when I think about that little boy or, hiding in his room, I'm like, man, like,
the man you've become.
Yeah, like how could you not be happy? Like, what problems have you not survived up to this point?
The man you will be.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I just try to keep that as something that kind of keeps me grounded. So when you feel unhappy and then you have this extra element of a partner, a kid, is there something you do intentionally that grounds you and brings you back, or like?
I have to remind myself that my wealth is not my money. I have to remind myself. Yeah. You might agree with me, disagree with me. I'll throw it out to you and see what happens. There is within all men three pillars. One is the protector, one is the provider, one is the ego. Mm-hmm. The protector, in my opinion, is the easiest one, because any man would die for the ones that they value, but few men live for them. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, few men will change their life for the people they love, but they'd easily die for them. And they think that that's like stoic or, but that's the easy, like, I hate to say it this way, guys.
It's the easy way out.
Yeah, it's, you know that it's the end, so whatever. The harder thing is the provider, because you don't have to die for them, you have to live for them. And this is why I have so much respect for men and what we have to do, because we do work the dirty jobs, we do work the hard jobs, we do work the destructive and risky jobs, and we do that for, perhaps you're an uncle doing it for your nephews or nieces, perhaps you're a father doing it for your sons and daughters, perhaps you're just a man doing it for your parents and your siblings. There's no wrong answer. Perhaps you have no one and you're doing it for yourself. Even selfless and selfish can be intertwined, like a Venn diagram. But then I go to the ego. And the ego, in my opinion, is what actually makes a man. Because once you've overcome protector, once you've overcome provider, you have to wrestle with ego. Mm-hmm. And if you've done both, that means you're going to have a big one. And the better you do both, the bigger the ego is. And you have to simultaneously understand that you are the shit and you are not shit. Yeah. And that is the paradigm for this podcast was supposed to be yin and yang, black and white, because there's good and the bad and the bad and the good. Mm-hmm. And that's where I came from was like, the best men that I know, the best women that I know are in constant turmoil within themselves of balancing, I am a motherfucker, and also I am one punch from getting knocked out and I'm not shit. So how do I establish in the cage that I'm the one to beat while simultaneously not being so risky that I'm constantly being beat? That the cage, I'm not sugarcoating this, I'm not trying to like make a narrative of this, but the cage has been the ultimate euphemism for life. Oh yeah. Where at any given day, I can eat shit. There are an infinite ways to lose in my life. No matter
There's an infinite way. How hard you prepare, like
doesn't matter. I can do everything right and still be wrong. Yeah. Does that make sense? And that is that's why I love martial arts. That's why I love cage fighting. That's why I love to tie this back into how we met. That's why I love the path that I chose, because the path that I walk is no longer the path that I chose, but they're intertwined and I've learned from it. And business is mixed martial arts, is martial arts on steroids. Oh, yeah. Because I'm competing with all men at all times, at all weight classes, regardless.
No, I think, and also to go back to you talking about the ego, I think that was a great point that you brought up, not just men, but women. And I think that's
it's gender neutral.
That it's definitely gender neutral, but when you talk about the ego and the ability to know that I am dangerous, but to act as a good person is what makes you good.
What if I were to add a different paradigm to you? What if you are also vulnerable?
That's what makes me dangerous.
Let me take a step back. Yeah. You're not as dangerous as you think you are. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, I think I'm a killer. I think that I could take on the fucking world. And if three things I can think about right now in my head for my own personal life, if three things were to happen, boom, 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 I'm literally homeless. Yeah. Three things. Mm-hmm. What keeps me up at night, what keeps me hungry, is to turn that three things into four things. Exactly. And then from four things to five things. And the only goal that I have in my life now is to make that three things into an infinite number of things, where I have established myself so well, so concretely, that there is the number of things that would have had to happen for me to lose it all are preordained by God, and then he would do that for divine justice or for a reason. And if I do get to the point where I've lost everything, either I really fucked up, or there's a lesson I still need to learn, and that there's still higher heights for me to achieve. Yeah, that's the way I think. If that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, and I think vulnerability is the key element of being dangerous. I am dangerous because I not only and when I say fight and being like, I don't literally mean fight. Where you speaking from a
horizontal, not vertical. I get it.
Yeah, it's like knowing how to fight is one thing, right? But knowing like when to fight right, is a totally different thing. And that's being aware of that. It factors in my decision making, which makes me dangerous because I know when to be vulnerable. I know when not to be vulnerable. I know when I need to press forward. I know when I need to sit back. And it's all this, it's everything happening all the time, all at once. And you constantly checking the ego keeps your mental space clear to make those decisions.
I'll do you a favor. I'll tell you how I check my ego, but I want to hear from you first. Okay. Because I feel like we agree with that statement. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with me that protector and provider are the prerequisites for being a great man? They're not the definition of one. It is overcoming the ego that makes you a great man. And I want to add this extra variable before people start criticizing me. I'm not saying that you're perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are things you do that you don't want people to know. Just like there are things I do that I don't want people to know. That's not what makes a great man. What makes a great man is I will overcome my adversities. I will overcome my sin. I will overcome my faults and do greater. I will take one and return two before I die. Yeah. And if enough people do that, that's how you get society to progress. And mind you, this is gender neutral. It's not about men or women. A woman could easily do these things. They're human. They have their needs, their wants, their ego, just as much as men do. So I'm not saying that, like, just because we're both men, this is like a man conversation. This is more of like a
human experience.
A human experience. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we both come from not the same background, but similar socioeconomic factors. Yet here we are 32 years after that, and we seem to be seeing eye to eye, different cultures, different races, different backgrounds, yet we came to the same conclusion. At least I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely think we're on the same path. I think one thing that frustrates me, though, and I think it's a societal thing today, this idea, being a single man, I date,
How's that? God bless, by the way. God bless.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll say what I can say without
saying. Say what you can't say with it.
The world's about to see how my dating life has been going pretty soon.
Bad, good?
I can't complain.
When you say dating, do you mean intercourse or do you mean connection? Because I'm going to say something that you might disagree with, but I will say this.
I think it's all encompassing, right?
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. When you were young, what made a man? Because for me, what made a man was like having sex, being able to be promiscuous and all these other things. That made a man. Now I realize it's responsibility, duty, and discipline. Yeah. These three things all together all the time.
Yeah. What are we disagreeing on? I definitely don't disagree.
You agree? Yeah, so when you say dating, what do you mean by dating? Do you mean dating long term? Are you vetting long term candidates to be the future mother to your children?
Yes. That's the baseline in which I'm operating right now.
We're on the same page.
And so, and I take it back to providership because as someone who does well, I run into this a lot with women that I have conversations with, women that I'm friends with.
Different socioeconomic factors. I mean?
But it's like one of the biggest proponents that comes up that I run into is I want someone who's a provider. And the first question I'll ask is like, oh, okay, like, what does that look like for you? And then it becomes financial. I would say 7 times out of 10. It's like, oh, if I'm going to have kids, I don't want to have to work, or I'm not going 50-50 with anyone, whatever that means. Like, but it's like this, like, I don't know. There's just like this whole dynamic now in the dating world between men and women, and it's back and forth. And I fucking hate it because more often than not, when I'm having that conversation, and it's like, first of all, if you got me out somewhere on a date, I'm interested. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm someone.
You have my time. My greatest commodity.
Thank you. I do so much. I travel all the time. I'm constantly working. I'm on call 24/7, and I'm trying to build my own.
But it works
stuff.
Both ways. Yeah. She has your time, her greatest commodity.
Exactly. And I'm going to show up accordingly, right? Exactly. And I'm going to show up accordingly. But it's like, some experiences that I had with like women, it's like they start speaking and going down that path, and I'm just like, I am the guy that you're looking for, but like now me knowing that that's what you're looking for the most, I'm probably not even interested, right? Because for me as a man, I think my providership is protecting, supporting mentally, emotionally. The fact that I can be someone that takes care of a home too. You know, I cook, I clean, I do all that. And I'm looking for a partner in a relationship.
Can I ask you a variable in that?
Yeah.
And it's gonna sound racist at first, but I promise you we'll tie to it.
All right. I'm gonna give you a
do you exclusively look at your race when you factor this equation of like partner?
No.
Agreed.
No.
Agreed. Because I'll tell you this right now: if a black woman expressed to me all the things that my current wife does, love you, baby. If a black woman would have expressed to me all the variables that I found in my wife, I would have easily married her.
Yeah.
And we would have had mixed babies, and it would have been cool as a cucumber. Because it's not about the face value things. It's about like back to my monkey phase.
Yeah.
Like, do you have the factors in you that if I were to die tomorrow?
Thank you.
And I don't think enough.
I don't think
enough women think about this because they want. I dated a girl. I want to be careful how I say this. At some point in time, there was a girl that I had dated that was like all the variables, feminine, very sexy, all these other things. But she was ineptly inadequate in the earning capacity.
Okay.
And at first, I thought that was fine. But then it was like this existential anxiety that I had on myself. Like, if anything ever happens to me, if I have children with you, if anything ever happens to me, they're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
They're fucked. I don't have enough wealth to constitute the next 18 years past my death. So I need on top of all the things that I'm looking for, I need also a woman that can handle if I'm not there. And that's the hardest variable.
I think for me,
if you want to have kids, if you're looking for a partner just for fun, then this is not the podcast for you.
Yeah. I think for me personally, from my own experience as a kid, that's something that's paramount for me. And not so much financially. Whenever I am out dating and I'm vetting, I'm going through this vetting process, I am having the same thought that you're having. It's like,
what if I'm not around?
Baseline for me is I want to know that my kids are going to be okay when and if I am not able and I'm not around.
Because it will happen. Whether that's when they're 40, 60, or 2.
Yeah.
That will happen.
And not just for me, not purely financial.
No, agreed.
All right, what type of person are you? Can you deal with resistance in life? Are you gonna break or fold at the first sign of like trouble?
We have a bunch of stepdads in the house that will abuse my children. I'm sorry to say it.
Yes, no, don't apologize because I even think about that. It's like I'm the type of guy. It's like I don't date people to get to know people. I get to know people to see if I want to date them, and I think that frustrates women a lot when it comes to me because they feel
you mean
like
business, they mean fun.
They're like I'm nonchalant or I'm not applying pressure. I'm like, oh, I'm applying pressure. You're just not aware of like the lens that I'm coming from.
Have you ever tried just being upfront with them?
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked out.
They really, really love it until they don't. Yeah. I'm a very just direct, blunt person in general.
God bless.
I can be fun and laugh and but if we're going down that path, I'm like, hey, this is where I'm at.
I mean business
I need to know
now.
where you are. Hey,
are we on the same page?
Are we on the same page?
Are you wasting time? Am I wasting time? I want to know.
Where are you coming from? What are we building with? I'm very much someone who would just straight up ask you that.
God bless you.
On a first date, especially and it just means I'm interested in you because I care. Because I mean, as someone that I do pretty well, if I'm dating multiple people to whatever degrees, it's like if I want to just go out to dinner, I can call someone and be like, hey, you want to go here? Like, but it's more so like I just want you to go with me.
Companionship and partnership are two different things. But to have a partner means you are their companion.
Yes, 100%. And so it's just tough to navigate. And it's like when I am dating people, like I want to know at the very least, are my kids going to be okay? Can I see you being the mother of my children? Because I do want kids to kind of circle back to what we were talking about
Good,
earlier.
you should.
Most people probably would think the other way because of how my life is set up and whatnot. But at this point in my life, I'm just on a different ride than most people, and I need to find someone who's willing to not only be on that ride but just fits me.
Can I explain why I wouldn't think you would think the other way? To overcome what you have overcome, to understand the values that you have, to be at the place that you're at now, there is within you the same thing that's within me. If I'm overextending, tell me. To overcome great hurdles means you appreciate the mountain that you climbed, and that you want to make sure in learning the lessons that you had from turmoil, inadvertently you will become humble yet confident. And that's the problem with ego, because you're humble enough to know you're not shit, yet confident to know that you can overcome anything, right? But because of what you've done early in your life, you're now at this precipice in your life where you're starting to earn a little bit of money, starting to get a little bit of status, amplifies the ego. I am what I am. I'm a handsome guy. I've done, you know what I mean? Trust me, dude. If there's anybody that understands it, it's not me. 5'7" white guy.
There's this Drake line. He's like, "You know it's real when you are who you think you are," right? And I feel like I'm at that intersection of life right now, to where it's like really understanding the mountains I had to climb and recognize them as mountains. Like, bro, like this just wasn't life. Like
we could have easily not been here.
Mm-hmm.
We could have easily not been here.
Understanding that, and then like, all right, look back where you come from. Where is everyone else? And then you're like, oh shit. Well, why me? Like, why am I the one that, you know? Like, how did I get here? Like,
so I'm going to ask you two questions. I'm going to let you answer the first one, then I'm going to hit the second one immediately. To piggyback off the first question, is like, you've overcome this.
Yeah.
You've established the precipice in which you stand on. My question for you is, do you feel like you ever put too much pressure or weight on your potential partners because of the life you've lived? Now your standards might, quote unquote, because I also like to think when I'm doing these episodes is like, what is the female perspective? Yes, David, you have overcome a lot. Yes, David, you're a handsome young man in his prime. Perhaps, in the next 10 years, you 2x, 3x, 4x your earnings. Maybe you eat shit. 5x, hopefully. God bless. But maybe you also eat shit and you're not the earner and provider that you thought you would be.
Yeah.
Because that's also a possibility. I hate to say it, but like, it keeps me grounded. You know what I mean? So like, to a woman who's a prospective partner, they could be like, well, have you started to exceed your expectations of what you actually need? What would you say to someone like that?
First of all, I will acknowledge that I have definitely been probably too critical and placed a lot on women that I've dated in the probably most. Look,
I'm trying to give you some grace.
I be fucking shit up. I ain't perfect. Like, it is what it is.
Listen, dude, we're all creatures of sin.
When I think about, I've only had a few relationships, like exclusive. We're dating. I'm not dating anyone else. I'm
committed to this. So long as you are.
I'm committed to you as long as you are. And when I think back to like my last relationship, that was definitely the case. And then you compound on top of that where I'm coming from. I watched what I watched, and I saw. I dealt with my mom, right? Like, loving this person. She was unaware of anything that was going on, so it's no fault of her own. But I watched her love someone who I feared and hated, and it's like, how are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Right? So then I see that, and then once he passes away, then my mom enters this deep, like, grieving process. And it's like, she just fell apart, which any woman or wife in her position would do, right? Especially if they didn't have the information.
May I add a paradigm to that? Any man.
Anyone.
My father, once my mom died.
Yeah.
Similar scenario.
The human experience, right? And so...
gender neutral.
Yeah, so then I watched that grieving process, which was long, and it affected us.
Unhealthy sometimes.
Man, like it changed our lives...
overnight.
Literally. And our lives were already like... we hanging in there.
Not the most stable.
And so I watched that, and so imagine me meeting someone who's going through their own thing, and I'm unbeknownst to me, like
you're judging them.
It's definitely wasn't, not necessarily judging, but I'm holding you up to this marker because I don't want my kids to experience what I went through. So I need to teach you how to be extremely independent as a woman, because if I'm not around and I die and I can't do whatever, like my kids are going to be okay. How do I do that, but then also be in a relationship?
I'll tell you how. I had this conversation with younger men than me literally yesterday. And that's why I'm bringing this up is you do all the things that you said. A man is, fuck you if you disagree with me. You're wrong. A man's natural position is leader, head of household, the captain of the ship. However, before you start judging other women and all that stuff, you need to make them your co-captain. Before they can fully commit to your vision, your direction, your ideology, they need to understand that you're with them in the same capacity that they're with you. Yeah. And that is the hardest thing, because this is why I said earlier in the conversation, the most important decision a man will ever make is their partner. And I want to take a step back, because the viewer, you might think by partner, I mean, your Anglo-Saxon sphere of life, one man, one woman. Perhaps that's one man and one man. Perhaps that's one woman and one woman.
Their own,
Perhaps that's one woman with many men. Perhaps that's one man with many women. All I've learned in my 33 years of life is there is not one size that fits all. However, the variables will change, but the overarching theme is identical. Mm-hmm. We all want for the next generation better than, ideally we should want for the next generation better than we had ourselves. Yeah. What we're trying to navigate is how do we create that landscape so that our kids don't have to learn the lessons we learned the way we learned them. They'll still learn what we learned them, but through like an artificial scarcity mindset, not a necessity for survival.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think to bring it back to relationships, it's like I'm putting all of that on a partner, but
do you feel like you're putting too much?
I'm definitely too much. It's too much for one person, for sure.
At the start.
Because I'm like, okay, I know what I've been through. I know what I can handle, but I need to know.
What have you been through? What can you handle? Who are you?
Yeah, and who's to say, like, the way I handle shit was the right way, And how am I being there and supporting you? And it's like, you talked about, like, leadership. And it's like, what does leadership actually look like? Leadership, healthy leadership, is not just like, hey, I'm going this direction, I'm dragging everyone along with me.
I agree.
Best leaders, I think, personally, and this works out for me, I lead from behind. I lead people in a corporate world. I lead people in a training environment. There are many spaces where I go, any space that I go to, pretty much, I'm a leader in some shape, form, or fashion, right? And even on a corporate stance, it's like meetings, I'm the last one to talk. I'm the first person to ask questions. I lead from behind. And I think that's the best way to lead. I lead by putting people in the right positions to where I know they can be the most optimum and the most effective. And I think that's what a partnership with a relationship should be. It's like, I can't just put all of this on you and like, you gotta measure up to this. But it's like, how am I lifting you up? Is that even what you're even meant to do in this capacity?
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, is that what you want to do?
We're on the same page.
That was a tough lesson I had to learn.
Trial and tribulation.
Yeah, so I'm still fucking it
Every
up
hour wasted was an hour learned.
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
Without a doubt.
Nothing is wasted.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So we've established that you are acknowledging that on some precipice, like you're holding within you a certain standard. Like, this is what I need. This is what I at the very least need to see the promise of. While simultaneously, you also acknowledge that, like, perhaps some of these variables are asking too much of a person early on in this conversation. Mm-hmm. So then let me ask you this. Because whenever I listen to men and whenever I listen to women about dating, it's usually from a single perspective. Men ain't shit, women are whores. It's like there's no middle ground, right? So one of the things I'm trying to get out of this conversation is kind of like, I think, what if I were to tell you that both things are true at the same time? What if I think most men aren't shit? And what if I think most women are whores? What would you say? That we're all just falling short.
I think that's exactly what I was going to say. I think we're all just having our own unique human experiences. And I think what I will say, it is extremely rare to find an exceptional person, no matter what the sex is, right?
Do you think you're exceptional?
Yeah, for sure.
What would you describe?
In some ways.
That's what I was going to get at. And when you say, like, I'm exceptional, why do you say that?
Why or in what ways do I believe?
No, why? You said you're exceptional. That's a blanket. That's a
I
blanket
think,
term.
I think I am exceptional because I've had enough sample size of people just randomly tell me that I am, and so at some point,
anecdotal evidence.
Yeah. So there's at some point in various different ways or degrees, I am exceptional, right? But I also fuck up, right? Like
we're all human.
I have not been ain't shit in some ways, and that's just life. You're trying to balance it all. I'm confident in my ability and my knack to always improve. Like I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I was actually walking him through an argument I had with maybe someone I was talking to, and I'm like, I made the statement. I was like, man, I just feel like I'm the only one, like when this shit is going down, who's immediately after the fact thinking, okay, what could I have done better? Did I say something that I maybe could have posed differently? And like I immediately go there, and I'm like, I feel like no one else in this situation is reflecting at this point. Like I'm sitting here ruminating on it, not from a space of like, what could I have done to be right? But like, damn, where could I have dropped the ball? When I said this, was my tone a little off? Do I need to maybe walk this part back? And I'm like, hold on, like, I don't feel like at this point anyone else is doing that. And he was like, yeah, man, most people just react and move on.
Can I present a different paradigm?
For sure. What you got?
I agree with the original comment, but I think there's a tertiary layer. There's a layer in between. There is acknowledgement that errors were made. That is, the majority of people will not understand this. So if you take 100% of men, 60% of them will not understand that they dropped the ball, quote unquote. But what if I were to tell you that 30% of men would understand that they did and ruminate on it? The third layer of that is the men that understand they did wrong and then change their paradigm for the future. Yeah. And that is the hardest thing. I think there is a good number of people that don't even understand, like they don't know what they don't know. I acknowledge that. But then there's a number of people greater than we think, that know what they don't know. Then the minority, the vast, vast, vast minority of people know they don't know something and then actively try to figure it out. That's the difficult.
Action will change. And
overcoming ego. I've realized I don't know something. Well, now I need to be better.
Exactly. And that's kind of how it all brought up, because I was at the point to where going through my process, I'm like, okay, maybe I could have done this. Maybe I could have said this. And I'm like, okay, action will change. I'm going to go fix it. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. When has this other party afforded me that same luxury? And then it goes back to my principal proponent that I look for in a relationship, reciprocity. At the end of the day, I think is, for me, that's the thing that I'm most looking for. Right?
Do you accept it in different ways? If you respect and if you give in one variable, do you accept it in a different variable? And that might not necessarily be, I'll give you an example. I'm the main provider of my household, but my wife turns my house into a home. Mm-hmm. So like it's not 1-to-1, 50-50 in that respect. Yes. But boy, when I come home, do I feel like a king of my castle? And I value that.
Yeah. No, you have to accept it in a different way, or you'll constantly be disappointed because you're expecting yourself from other people, and we all know how that ends up. So yeah, you definitely have to, and I'm learning. It took me a while to learn that, but that's definitely at this point within my development and my growth as a person. Like, you have to, and I can recognize more than anything effort, right? So I'm not saying you have to. I'm doing this, so you have to do this. It's like, okay, this is what I'm giving. This is what I'm offering. What can you give to accent that or add to it?
Because, or what are you willing to add to?
Yeah, or what are you willing to add to?
You might not be there today.
Yeah.
But are you willing to give me that for tomorrow? If that's the case,
are you even open
Yeah.
to stretching yourself?
Because there's some people that might give you everything today, but then like you might want a little bit more out of them. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
this is my cap. This is my ceiling. Okay, well, you're a great woman. You'll make somebody happy, but it won't be me.
And then there's like, man, you're still looking for love too, you know? And like I've been learning that I should prioritize.
Do you fall in love or do you learn love?
I always say I want to fall into trust. I think everything will come
Explain
from that. I think falling in love is easy. I think fools rush in. I think fools fall in love. I think if you look to fall into trust with someone, I think love is like the easiest thing that comes from
It's
that.
a byproduct.
It's a byproduct, easily. And I focus on that more than anything. I've been in love and not had the trust given back to me.
How many times?
I've only been in love one time.
Good.
Yeah. But I regret it because I never actually allowed myself to actively be in the love.
Why? Because of the burns, the scars?
I think it was more the living in my past and always trying to clock the temperature, playing ahead, not being present, trying to build this person to be hyper independent while being with me. I need to teach you to be without me while you're with me.
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
It's like,
it's tough.
Where do we have
You have to
time
commit first.
Yeah, where do we have time to actually just be? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's why I say being the man is the harder. And I know many women they're going to be like, oh, are you kidding me? We have to go through childbirth and all these other things. Don't get me wrong. Guys, over the course of time, women will pay a harder price than men. But being the man is harder. Because we have to take that into consideration when we make. Dude, when I proposed to my wife, it was one of the scariest moments of my fucking life. Because all I could think to myself is like, I hope I didn't get this wrong. I hope I didn't get this wrong. And I'll tell you another thing that scares me yet amplifies me. I hear stories of people that have been married for 30 years, and I'm like, got it. Mm-hmm. Then I hear stories of people that have been married for 20 years, and they're like, we grew apart. I'm like, how the fuck do you grow apart at 50? Yeah. Like, when I look at my wife now, I'm like, listen, I'm not a perfect man by any means. But, like, we see eye to eye on the 95% of, like, the shit that matters. We want more kids. We want to establish a legacy. We want to form and build our castle. But then I think to myself, like, this is how I'm going to be. This is how I've been since I was 18. I hope to God that I made the right decision. And I hate to say it this way. And my wife might watch this one day. But it's the truth of the circumstances. Like, I could try to extend my will upon her. I could try to persuade her and get her to think the way I think. And in a lot of ways, I think I do. But the truth is, the absolute truth is that at any given time, because of our human experience, people can drive away and they could drift from us. And then that is beholden upon men to expand that paradigm of relationship to whatever holds it together, so long as it's healthy for both parties. And the reason I bring that up is as I've gotten older, I've seen how relationships have shifted and changed. Not necessarily at the, incubancy period or the start, the middle, the end, quote unquote. But it's like, I don't think you fall in love. I think you learn to love. Mm-hmm. And once you've learned to love, you learn to adapt. And what you fell in love with is the meat and potatoes. Now all we're arguing is how much salt and pepper do we put in the sauce. Does that make sense? But if you don't agree with the meat and potatoes, there's no amount of salt and pepper that you can add or take out that'll get you to enjoy that meal. So we've already established that you and I, we see eye to eye, we're partners, we're in this together. Now the only thing that we're really arguing about is, do we zig 10% or 20%? Yeah. But we're not saying a 90-degree angle, we're shifting to the right or shifting to the left. And the reason I bring that up is there was a lot of people that I've seen succeed in their relationships because they're willing to give ground, they're willing to understand, they're willing to expand. And there's a lot of people that I know that fail because of that. And that is where I go back to the men and ego.
Man, I don't know. I can't sit here and say that it's harder for men than women. I think as a man, it's the harder that we're closest to. And for women, it's just a different kind of hard. I mean, when I think about myself as a man and like my journey through relationships and dating, it's like we all have our issues, mommy issues, daddy issues or whatever. But I think for me, learning the most about myself as a man was learning
from your mom.
Not even from my mom, but learning about my mom
Shout
and her
out.
stories,
Shout
right?
out to your
And
moms.
so,
I agree.
and there were times for the longest time, it's like, it would be so easy to be like, oh, you just let me down here. You just weren't this when I needed that. You just weren't. But then it's like, okay, who is she as a human, as a person? And you start diving into that. And that's a hard I ain't never dealt with. But that's the hard that made me who I am, right? In a roundabout way. And I'm pretty sure the same for my dad. It's just they're different hards.
I think you're right. Like, nothing you said I disagree with. Let me take a step back and extrapolate on my comment. I'm not saying that, like, being a man is harder than being a woman by, like, I don't know, like a substantial margin.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do mean is that inherently every man, I will die on this grave. I will die on this grave.
He's going down this.
The only healthy relationships are where the men lead. The only healthy relationships I've seen are where the men lead. Subsequently, the men have to be people that the women want to follow. They admire. They see within them some sort of vision. So you can expand that. And I'm not saying that women don't have to go through all. Listen, what my wife went through with childbirth, literally, God bless her. And the fact that she wants to go through that again, I cannot express to people my gratitude and love. However, she feels that way as a direct reflection of the leadership that I hold. I hold within me the responsibility and the duty to put her in a position to where she feels like she can have more children. And I don't shy from that. In fact, I fucking embrace it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is where ego overcomes me. I am the shit. I am the shit. And I know that there are 3 mistakes that make me from the shit to a shit. And that's totally different. But I think that every man has to have that within them and understand their value and understand the value of the woman across from them and where we can grow, where I can recede, where you can extend, where I can extend and you can recede. The reason I bring that up is the natural. I don't think there's any one topic more important than interpersonal relationships. I truly don't. I don't think it's economic. I don't think it's scientific. I don't think it's demographic. I think it's women and men. We've never been more divided. And when I talk to young men, I try to instill into them, like, this is where I was at your age, and this is how wrong I was. And when I talk to young women, I tell them, I'm like, give them grace because they're fucking retarded. 20-year-old men are fucking retarded. Give them grace. Are they nice? Are they sweet? Are they funny? Are these? They'll learn. They'll learn in time. Are they the most mature? Do they always say the right thing? No. But are they good men? Do they steal? Like you were saying earlier, I don't lie to people. I don't steal from people. These are universals. You had that at 18, you'll have that at 38.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I think it's more universal leadership within relationships, and I think it's not a right or wrong. It's what ultimately works for you in your individual case to case.
And I'm anecdotal. I said most men. I didn't say all men. Yeah. I said most men.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a logic that would hurt any family or any relationship for sure. But I think for me, when I think about being a man and leading in a relationship, it's like this. And I've run into this with dating where it's like when I walk with my partner. Like as a man, I'm always on the side. I'm on the street side. I'm closest to the street. But one thing that I know that has been brought to my attention from several different women that is different, I'll always walk a step or two behind. Where most women are used to the guy holding your hand, walking out front and leading. And I'm just like, I get it. And it's not a right or wrong thing. This is just what works for me.
Perspective.
And I had to explain this whole logic down to a woman one time. So it's like when you get women that are used to that, they'll almost not even feel safe to move forward because you're not physically leading them, right? And I had someone bring it to my attention one time, and she's like, yeah, I like need you to move first. And I'm just like, all right, look at it like this. If we're walking in this crowded place, I'm holding your hands, I'm walking in front of you, who's got our 6? And I was like, I want you to understand, like from the view that I see it is, when I take a step back and I let you walk a step ahead of me, I am in control and I am leading this space, but I also have your 6. So I just want you to like understand directly out front in our peripherals, this is your safe space to move. If you want to go here, we can go here. We want to go this direction, we can go this direction. But I see it all, and most importantly, I have your back. So I think that's how I see leadership in a relationship for me. It's like I am affording this space and securing and protecting and providing within this space for you to be who you completely are, to fill up the space.
In a pack of mammals, where does the alpha lie when they're moving?
In the back.
In the back. Why?
Yeah. For protection. Like, I mean,
to care for the most sick,
exactly,
and the young and the old.
And so, like, that's just how I am. And, like, I've had to explain that to women from, like, time and time again, because they are used to the, well, leave me here, tell me what to do, and I'm like, no, I am up front. And the reason that I feel safe to do this with you, because I know you'll listen to me. And that's why we're here in the first place. Because if I didn't feel that way, we probably wouldn't even be together.
That's the toughest dance to do in real time, is like, and here's the unsexy truth. In a healthy relationship, there has to be a leader and a follower. But I'll tell you this from my own relationship. 99% of the time, my wife makes the decisions. Mm-hmm. I just don't care. I just don't care. Yeah. What are we going to do this? Whatever you want to do, baby. I don't care. The 1 to 5% of the time that I step in, my wife, God bless her, she'll recede. Mm. The 1 to 5% of the time where I start to raise my voice, where I start to be a little stern, where I start to say, like, no, we're going to do this, she knows when to recede. Mm. And I think that is, if I were to encapsulate a healthy relationship, it is no person is 100% of anything. Yeah. It is that you know when to be. Yeah, exactly. And you need to find the person that you trust. When you say you fall in trust and then you fall in love, mm-hmm. I agree with that, because like I trust my wife, and that's why I love her. There's literally no other woman on this planet I trust.
Well, congratulations on finding that, because that shit's hard.
I agree. I agree. And trust me, like, God bless her, because she has to put up with a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm not an easy person to be with. Like, 100%. She accepts me for what I am, and I will never cease to appreciate that. Yeah. The reason I bring that up is I do believe that healthy relationships are about giving and getting ground. You're just choosing when and where. Mm-hmm. And the hardest part about that is not to distinguish who is what, but it's who is what when. And that is so hard. That is so hard.
That's the core of any good relationship. Yeah.
If I would have thought that we would be doing a 45-minute spiel on
relationships, especially where we come from, how we know each other. I mean,
I resonate with you because it also took a woman to teach me how to be a man. Yeah. I love my father. Dad, if you're going to watch this, I love you. But I think you would attest to this as much as I would, Dad. My mom was so amazing. And it sounds like your mother is also so amazing. And then it's the hard truth to say about masculinity, that a lot of times we attest to it as men, for men, by men. Mm-hmm. But in reality, masculinity is a concept. Mm-hmm. It is bestowed to us upon mentors, people older and wiser to us. And sometimes those people can be women. Yeah. Because leadership is gender neutral. But leadership is also something that a man should feel. I'm toxic masculine. Yeah. A man should feel like they're capable of being a leader. A man should feel like they're the provider, the protector. They should. And if you don't feel these things as a man, you're not a man. However, I don't feel them 100% of the time. Sometimes my wife leads. Sometimes my wife is in the position of driving the ship, and that's okay because I trust her. Not all the time, but sometimes.
And you trust your decision making.
100%.
You trust the creed in which led you to that decision making.
I have never made a bad decision.
Clearly,
in my
it's
life.
Working out for you.
Yeah.
You know,
so. We go back to, in the time, I would have changed things. Now, everything had to happen as it happened for me to be here today, and I am so supremely happy. Yeah. I'm blessed.
For me, at this point, I'm happy in the peace that I created for myself, and I'm not looking for anyone to bring me peace. I just want someone that can add to anything that
appreciate that peace
and appreciate it. Yeah, because I'm learning, like you said, there aren't a lot of good people out here, let alone men. So it's like the work that I put in, everything that I've been through to be the person that I am today. Like, it would be nice for someone to not only recognize it but appreciate it, you know, and reciprocate it.
I would like to extend to you an invitation to do this again, because we did an hour and a half, and I feel like
we just got started.
We just got started. Yeah. This was immensely satisfying. There are few guests that get me jazzed. I don't know like what adjective you'd use to describe this, but like,
likewise, man.
If we easily had another 2 hours to do, this is on me. I want you to know this is on me. I
was late. I had to adjust. It was me.
If it feels like it's ending early, it's because it is. But I extend to you publicly an invitation. If you ever want to do this again, whenever you're in town, whenever you have time, I would love to do a part 2. It'd be okay
for sure.
With that.
I'm pretty sure next time we do it, we'll have a lot more to talk about because you'll probably see me on Bravo TV on these people's yachts acting a fool.
Briefly, I want to discuss because we literally did only past, but what do you feel comfortable saying about what you're working on today? Sorry.
Right now, I guess right now I'm just working on expanding myself and, letting the world see who David is outside of what the world knows David to be, the fighter, using my voice, expanding that, just adding value in whatever spaces that I am in. And I think recently there's been a thing out there on the below deck that's, I guess they did an episode last week and it may or may not have been me, but on the yacht just having a good time. And I think there's going to be another episode where you're going to see that. And then I think going into next year, I got some really exciting opportunities where, specifically centered around dating, where, people will get a look into what my dating life has been like on a global stage. So if you see David dating on TV, just mind your business.
David, I thought we were going to talk about martial arts. Instead, we talked about the fight of life.
Like you said, martial arts is life, my brother.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your openness and your transparency. Before we put a close to this episode, is there anything else you want to say? Forgive me. The floor is yours.
I definitely would, but I feel like we need a whole
nother episode.
So I'm gonna take you up on that invitation.
Yes,
for part 2. Man.
Sooner rather than later, if you have time, we'll coordinate.
Indeed.
Brother, this was a lot of fun.
Yo, likewise. I thank you for having me out, man, and. I always love a good conversation, but it's hard to come across people that you can actually have good, substantial, meaningful conversations.
My ego is already so high.
So I want to take the time to acknowledge
I appreciate
you, and not only in this moment, but what you've built, man. I know what it's like to experience that transition from what we came from
fighter,
figure out,
or actually from before fighter.
Yeah, even before fighting, but just figuring out what's next. And I want to commend you for making the jump and your execution on that, man. Well, the studio we're sitting in, you know how many people have thought about this and probably have dreams of wanting to do this, but for you to actually take the risk and do it, it's motivating, it's inspiring for me, and I think I'm going to leave here with some direction where you may see me doing something, not
I hope you do.
Quite exactly what you're doing, but utilizing the tools that we built in the spaces we've been in.
I extend to you my resources, my knowledge, whatever you need. If in some capacity I can in some way help, you have I need to give you my number. We've been exchanging messages through Instagram, but I'll give you my number. And if you're thinking about doing anything in this namespace, God bless you, and I will support you in any which way I can.
I appreciate that, brother. Maybe one of our conversations will be on my platform.
I would extend to you that courtesy on a heartbeat.